Who am I? I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah, you are. Alright, wow, there has been a lot revealed today, and I am feeling so many emotions right now, so let's talk about it. So The Hollywood Reporter initially said that Alfred Molina is going to come back as Dr. Otto Octavius, Dr. Octopus, in the new Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, which, first of all, I was super excited. But then like an hour later, it said, oh yeah, by the way, Kirsten Dunst, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire are also coming back as Spider-Man from their respective movies and Mary Jane Watson. First of all, what? So like I said earlier, they're going to come back for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3 movie, and that really opens up a lot of possibilities. Because if we remember, at the end of Far From Home, spoilers, Peter Parker's identity is revealed to the entire world. Mysterio leaks this video saying, hey, by the way, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and then Mysterio dies, allegedly, at the end of the movie, so Spider-Man is also framed for his murder. So not only is this universe's Peter Parker a criminal, but his identity is revealed to the world, so he no longer has that safety blanket. And now with all of these reports, it shows that Spider-Verse is officially here. They kind of touched on it in Far From Home, you know, how they kind of teased those little multiverse things, as I remember a conversation that Peter was having with Nick Fury and Mysterio, and they talked about all alternate dimensions, you know, different realities, all that kind of stuff. So that's super cool, and I'm glad we're finally getting a live-action Spider-Verse movie. My biggest question when all of this came out is, what are they exactly going to do with Dr. Octopus? If we remember from Spider-Man 2 in 2004, he dies at the end of the movie. You know, he was trying to save everybody, he redeemed himself, and then he ended up sacrificing himself. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to do now. If they really explore the alternate dimensions, you know, different realities, are they going to have a different reality Dr. Octopus, where maybe in that movie he actually beat Peter, he actually killed Peter, and that he still is evil Dr. Octopus? Or is it another dimension where he actually didn't die that day and he actually survived, and then him and Peter actually became heroes for the world? I'm very interested to see what they're going to do. I mean, it would be very interesting to have a good Dr. Octopus. We don't really get that a lot. He starts off as good, but then he becomes bad. With it being a Spider-Man movie, I really want to see an evil Dr. Octopus because, I mean, come on. It's Dr. Octopus. he's one of Spider-Man's most notorious, most famous villains. Everybody loves Dr. Octopus as a bad guy, so I would prefer to keep it that way. Andrew Garfield is also coming back as Spider-Man. Now, if you remember from Amazing Spider-Man 2, a terrible movie, I know we don't want to revisit that, but at the end of that movie, Gwen Stacy died, and then he actually stopped being Spider-Man for a while, but then at the end of the movie, he saved the kid, and obviously he beat Rhino, so he's Spider-Man again. But I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with him. Like, is he going to be, you know, where he is from there? Has he fully gotten over Gwen Stacy's death? Or is he still kind of just going along being Spider-Man and he's not really enjoying it anymore? So with him coming back, I wonder if they're just going to be like, okay, yeah, he's just happy Spider-Man. Or are they going to make him more complex and kind of, you know, kind of sad that Gwen is still gone. Maybe explore some Spider-Man Blue type of comic where he still isn't over it and he kind of talks to Gwen here and there, you know, leaving her messages. I really hope they kind of explore that, especially with that type of comic book. Now, if you read IGN's article explaining this entire thing, they said that Tobey Maguire is actually closing in on a deal with Disney, Marvel, and Sony, so it hasn't been fully confirmed yet that he's back. So Disney, Marvel, Sony, whoever, come here, listen to me. Whatever Tobey wants, give it to him, okay? I don't care what he asks for. You freaking give it to him. I will take money out of my own pocket to give it to him because I want to see Tobey Maguire back on screen right now. And I can speak for everybody here that Tobey just has a place near and dear to all of our hearts. Growing up, he was my very first live-action Spider-Man. So, of course, I would give anything to see him back on the screen. And not to mention, he deserves to have a good Spider-Man movie. With how bad Spider-Man 3 was, it really left the Raimi trilogy, it just left a bad taste in all of our mouths, and sometimes people don't like to revisit those movies because of how Spider-Man 3 turned out, so he deserves to go out on a high note. He is probably one of the most important castings for this movie. You know, obviously this is Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie, so Tom Holland's the most important casting, but I would say 1B is definitely Tobey, because I'm still going to watch the movie no matter what, but if Tobey's not in it, I'm going to be thinking in the back of my head, man, I wish Tobey was in this movie. So hopefully they get that done. Hopefully everything goes smoothly, you know, and they can go right back to filming. Now, along with Tobey, Kirsten Dunst is coming back as Mary Jane Watson. I'm very happy because I loved her as Mary Jane Watson. Now, let's kind of go back to see how Spider-Man 3 ended, and I know we all don't want to, but we have to, because with how Spider-Man 3 ended, Harry Osborn dies, Sandman's defeated, Venom dies, and Peter and MJ at the end of the movie kind of make up. But it really ended on a sad note, on a somber note. So I'm interested to see where they're going to be timeline-wise. You know, are MJ and Peter going to be married? in this timeline by the time they come into the Spider-Verse? Maybe are they going to pull kind of a Into the Spider-Verse animated movie where Tobey Maguire is kind of like Peter B. Parker, where he actually doesn't like to be Spider-Man anymore. He's actually kind of doesn't want to be the hero anymore. Like he maybe, you know, hung up the suit. He's kind of done because of how his friend died, how he doesn't really want to be a hero anymore. So maybe they could do that. Maybe they could just pull a whole Last Jedi type of movie where he absolutely hates being Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be the hero anymore. But then when something like this happens, he finally has to come back being a Spider-Man. I really hope they kind of do something like that, you know, instead of just saying, oh yeah, here's Spider-Man. I mean, that'd be cool, but to make him more complex, to him fighting that ability to be Spider-Man, how he kind of hates being a hero now, but then something comes where he has to, you know, be the web slinger one last time. I think that'd be really cool, and I think it'd be really interesting to see if MJ is married to him. We have yet to see a relationship really work out for Spider-Man in the movies, because Spider-Man 3 it ended on a bad note. Amazing Spider-Man 2, Gwen dies. But obviously Tom Holland and MJ with Zendaya, that's actually working out so far. But as of now, we have yet to have a successful, completed relationship in the Spider-Man movies. So with all of that, I'm pretty sure we are all wondering, how are they going to integrate the Spider-Verse into this movie? Well, I do have a theory. There is going to be a movie coming out before Spider-Man 3, I believe. It's actually Doctor Strange's movie, Doctor Strange, what was it, Madness and the Multiverse? Multiverse Madness, something craziness happening with multiverse. That's something title like that. That makes the most sense to introduce, you know, the Spider-Man in those movies. And it's kind of ironic that Sam Raimi is the one that's directing that Doctor Strange movie, and I can't think of a more perfect way to introduce Tobey into the MCU than with Sam Raimi, because, you know, it's almost poetic. It's kind of like he's like giving away his creation of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man to the MCU, like, now it's in your hands. I think that'd be, man, it'd be very poetic, and just, you know, the completion of some weird superhero Spider-Man circle, you know, whatever. But I really hope they do something like that. Maybe at the end of the movie they can kind of tease Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming there. That way it can be introduced into the Tom Holland movie. That way it makes more sense. Yeah, I think if they introduce it in another movie, they can have a better script for Spider-Man 3 instead of having to have that convoluted thing of trying to introduce the plot, of trying to introduce the Spider-Verse in one movie. So I really hope they kind of explore using Doctor Strange for that. Another thing that's on my mind is who's going to be the main villain. Now, I get it, Dr. Octopus is there, but you don't need 3 Spider-Man for one Dr. Octopus. I think this is where we finally get the introduction of the Sinister Six. For those of you who don't know, the Sinister Six, it's 6 Spider-Man villains who come together to defeat Spider-Man. I think it would be really cool is that you actually have villains from each Spider-Man's universe come together to finally put an end to these 3 Spider-Men. So like what? For Tobey Maguire's, you can have, you know, I don't know, maybe Sandman come back, Dr. Octopus is coming back. With Tom Holland's, you have Vulture, you have Scorpion. And then the funny thing is that this isn't the first time that we'd actually have a showing of the Sinister Six, because if you remember in Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 2, they were showing how they were having plans to have the Sinister Six. But obviously with how terrible Amazing Spider-Man 2 was, they weren't able to follow through with it. And you know, at the end of Homecoming, we showed that Vulture was in prison and that Scorpion was there. So, and not to mention, Shocker was also introduced in Spider-Man Homecoming. So you can have what? So what? Scorpion, Vulture, Shocker, then you have Mysterio, who maybe isn't dead. Maybe that whole thing with him dying was just an illusion, so you can maybe have that. Then you have Dr. Octopus. And then not to mention with Jamie Foxx coming back as Electro, I think you have your Sinister Six right there. Whatever happens, man, I put my faith in Marvel. They have yet to fail me so far. They know their formula. They know what they're going to do. Tom Holland's been amazing as Spider-Man. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't want to jinx it, but man, it would be great to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come back and, you know, end their Spider-Man on a high note. And maybe, who knows what happens? Maybe this movie is so successful that they're able to branch out and do their own movies. So, man, endless possibilities, but I'm very excited to see where Marvel takes it from here. It's just such a good day. I'm so happy. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.